Take two, marker.
I forgot to clap anyway, yeah.
So, Hollywood Reporter recently announced that...
Oh, wait, hold on. Ready? Okay, go.
Okay. now that you've clapped too. So Hollywood Reporter recently announced that The Mighty Ducks is coming to the small screen. One of our most beloved, cherished childhood movies. Coming to the small screen. That's wild. We speculated, I don't know if we mentioned it in another video or if we just talked about it like we normally do in standard tavern talk. But we had a whole discussion one day at the brewery, I feel like, about what would the next movie in the Mighty Ducks series look like.
Yeah, and then they suddenly announced a TV series, and we're like, shit, we missed our window.
Should have written the script.
Should have written the script and shopped it around. Yeah.
Right then and there. That being said, we've got some pretty good story ideas.
I think our story is honestly probably better than what they're going to come up with.
It's just really unfortunate.
So, yeah.
You want to walk them through the...
Let's walk them through.
All right, so the idea is, in the TV series, the main character won't be Gordon Bombay anymore, obviously. I think maybe it's obvious to us because we study storytelling in a roundabout way, but you can't really focus on the you don't do the same gag twice, you do the next gag.
Right.
So,
Charlie Star Wars.
Unless you're Star Wars. So the main character for the series has got to be Charlie. He's like the obvious choice.
Yeah.
We talked about how he could be the protagonist, but also his kid, probably a son playing hockey. But there's like a little bit more of a backstory that goes with that.
Yeah. So you and I were talking, and my favorite thesis would be Charlie Conway actually makes it to the pros. And he doesn't get burnt out. He doesn't get injured like Gordon Bombay did. He does really well, but he realizes maybe in a roundabout way that how he didn't have a father figure growing up, now his son doesn't necessarily have a father figure growing up because he's been playing pro hockey. So he either retires or decides to just walk away from the game. And he goes back to Minnesota and he starts becoming a father figure, and that's how he bonds with his son. So he's doing what his dad didn't do, and he's also re-fulfilling that same necessary Gordon Bombay role from the original two movies.
And they really played him up in the original movies as more of a coach than a player.
Sure.
So I think to have him have the pro role, that would be all good and fine. But I think his former love interest would have to be out of the picture.
Oh, you mean his girlfriend from D3, no. The Mighty Ducks Go to Prep School?
In no world I think that prep school lady becomes Charlie Conway's eventual mother of his child. But
yeah. That
being said, I don't think that character can be in the picture anymore because it's got to create tension for the kid. So the idea is that the kid would be like a hoodlum struggling in Minneapolis, and he's got to come back and straighten him out and figure out how to be a father in a way that he never had one.
Yeah, and I like the idea that Charlie's kid hates hockey.
Yeah.
He resents hockey because his dad's been gone on the road playing hockey, so when he comes back, the kid's acting out and being a dick. And what Charlie does is after he's retired and he's come back to Minnesota, he says, I'm going to start up the Mighty Ducks again. I'm going to give my son structure the way I received structure as a kid.
And the way that he would be most... I don't know. It's a credible way for him to actually coach and to kind of come into his kid's life. I feel like it would be a form of punishment. Like, the kid wouldn't really enjoy hockey. He doesn't like it.
Yeah.
He realizes, though, after a while that he's good at it.
Yeah.
And he's got a natural talent for it.
And he starts to bond with his dad over that mutual love of the sport, which isn't there initially, but it becomes the catalyst for their rebuilding of their relationship.
And there are a lot of clever ways to work in the old characters into that same storyline.
Yeah.
Have the kid be like a busboy at Goldberg's or something like that. Averman could be hosting the local television network.
Yeah, because he always did the announcing gag whenever he was on the bench. Yeah.
Or just maybe the announcer for the local Pee Wee hockey league.
He could be just a radio.
Yeah,
like a radio, like a MC on the radio, and he just announces the games over the radio. Yeah.
I really hope that they use the location, because I feel like the small town Minnesota thing is much more of it's more plausible for all those characters to come back.
Yeah.
And so if they can't get all those cameos, it won't be as fulfilling. The jury's still out right now, by the way, on whether or not it's going to be a reboot or it's going to be a continuation story. So we're not sure. It could just be we get another young Charlie Conway and another Gordon Bombay.
I hope it's not a reboot, honestly.
I really hope it's not.
It's in some ways it's smarter to just do a reboot, but at the same time, I think playing into the nostalgia and reestablishing those characters and bringing them back and showing what they've been up to since they've been adults would be cool.
Yeah, I think they have to. I mean, in order to
sell it, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Because I would watch the first episode. I'll watch the pilot regardless of which direction they take.
Yeah.
If it's a reboot, it'll be interesting to see how modern cinematography plays into that.
Right.
And if they really try to, if they put a big budget behind it. But I feel like if I was one of the investors in this show, if I was responsible, an executive producer, I would want to see a continuation of the same story. Same storyline, but with a new kind of focus, a new angle. Same heart of the original show in that you're trying to show the love of the game of hockey. You're trying to show about team camaraderie in the same sense that most sports movies kind of try to pitch that.
Right.
But if you don't do a continuation, just by the second episode, I'll probably be checked out.
Unless it's really, really good. But for you and me who grew up watching the original 3 movies, the connection that would bring us into watching the show would be, it's Charlie Conway. Now he's in his 30s. And yeah, that'd be cool. But if it's just
characters.
If it's just a reboot,
yeah.
I don't really.
It could have a really great plot line, and it still wouldn't be right.
It's not for us as the demographic. Yeah.
Because I think if I try to really reflect on the thing that made the original movies great, it was the characters. The plot lines are, I guess you could say, they're a little bit derivative.
Yeah.
Like your standard sports fare for.
Yeah, and the actual hockey itself in the movies is nonsense.
Right.
Like the trick plays they pull are
the
incredibly illegal. Yeah.
And now they're a sense of. Those are the things that you quote. Those are the lines. You do the flying V thing, or you make those references. But if you don't have those characters that made it interesting, then there's nothing. That was the entire point of D2, was that they needed to introduce something wild into this already familiar makeup of the cast, which is wild to say after one movie. You're really familiar with this team already. They're all individuals. What happens? Let's throw in a curveball with 6 more additions, 6 or 7 more team members.
Yeah, well, it was a smart thing for them to do with the second movie. It was like you said, take the familiar and break that comfort zone of the characters and have them develop some internal strife and some struggle with the new kids that showed up. Because you got these kids who were playing hockey with each other for years, they know each other, and all of a sudden, you guys aren't good enough, we need to bring in all these really good hockey players, and they have feelings of inadequacy and shit like that. So.
And they had to figure out how to come together as a team while still enjoying the sport.
They were smart for being kids' movies in the 90s. There's a lot of really shitty kids' movies in the 90s, and I know because I was a kid in the 90s. Mighty Ducks was deceptively intelligent in how they presented the storylines and the characters and the conflict. So.
Well, and it was good because they really paint that in the beginning of the second movie as the major conflict is that there's going to be all these kids. And in reality, just like normal kids, they get to know each other, and once they know each other, they're fine.
Yeah.
They bond really quickly because Bombay in the beginning is focused on making sure that they're a united team so that they can go into the Junior Olympic Games and perform.
Right.
Well, eventually, the real struggle with the team is that Gordon loses sight of his initial pitch to the team.
Yeah.
And it causes some strife, is that they need a coach because they're struggling. And it's a tough time for them as a team. Now that you put us together, we have no direction. What happens now? And that's where Charlie kind of steps in as the coach role.
Yeah.
So I really hope they play that back for the TV show.
Yeah, it's a natural progression for the character of Charlie, too. And I don't know what Joshua Jackson is up to these days, but I imagine if the script was really good, he'd be cool with at least coming in for the first season, doing the whole Charlie Conway thing, and then kind of fading into the background as the kids get older and they start taking over the storylines themselves. But I think the hook for this show would definitely be starting out with, whoever's willing and able to come back from the original cast, coming back, reestablishing this world for older fans like us. We're old enough now where we can have kids, and many of our friends have kids. We grew up watching those movies. It'd be great for those parents who have the young kids that are now the same age as the kids who watch the original movies, for them to bond and watch those movies together, or the TV series together. So, yeah, definitely think they should not do a reboot. It should be a continuation. But
And they can be smart about the cameos. I mean, you don't need to have Emilio Estevez, but just...
You don't need Emilio Estevez at all. He's not a great actor.
You just... But you bring in, every now and then, small little references to the movie series, and it would be great. All you would need to do is frame up some old Mighty Ducks jerseys on the walls in apartments.
That warm, fuzzy Disney nostalgia factor could just be cramped up to 11, and I would just eat that shit up.
Yeah.
So...
And it wouldn't go amiss, because that's why most of their starting audience would be watching, is for that nostalgia factor.
Exactly. Like Fuller House, which is not great.
No.
It's not good at all, but the nostalgia factor is definitely there. Mm-hmm. So
yeah.
Voltron, again on Netflix. I love Voltron as a kid, and the new series is knocking that shit out of the park. So actually, I would love to see the Mighty Ducks on Netflix instead of... It's not ABC Family anymore. What is it called now?
Freeform?
It's probably where it's going to end up, unless they put it on ABC, which would be weird.
Yeah, right now, I guess the news is, or the media is thinking that it's going to be going to ABC Studios in some sense. I would rather see it be a Netflix or Amazon original.
Yeah.
Just because I think they would treat it with a little bit more reverence, and they'd be more likely to go into the, the continuation route. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just hope they're not too heavy-handed.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to fall into...
I don't want it to be preachy.
The preachiness, and then I think the original movies had this kind of campiness to them. Mm-hmm. There's some like kitschy fun that happens. I think they can't really do that with the new one. What I would like to see is you have a few of those moments, because you have to, because it's the Mighty Ducks. But you have a little bit more dramatic weight, especially in the TV series form. Mm-hmm. That format really lends itself to a little bit more character development, because you have more time.
Yeah.
And they could make it really interesting and dramatic while still having the fun sports moments.
Yeah. It wouldn't be smart to make like Friday Night Lights with hockey. It just wouldn't work. It's got to be silly and fun for the kids. Mm-hmm. And it should be a comedy. Absolutely. But yeah, like you said, there's room there in a TV series to do character development, especially as the kids get older. You turn it into more like a coming of age type of story, where maybe some of the kids are not interested in hockey anymore, or somebody moves away, or somebody gets pregnant.
Life happens.
Yeah. But not people accidentally murdering people and then being on the run from the law and shit like that in Friday Night Lights. That whole series was really good, but that season...
In those situations, if you play up the drama too much, you're right, it gets out of hand.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I want to see at least some more realism in it. You can still have the comedy, and that's why it needs to be so character driven, because you're not going to be able to put together these situations on paper unless there's really strong characters.
Right.
And I think we got that. We're still able to rattle off the names of almost the entire Mighty Ducks team.
No, I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is how many years later? I mean, that's because they took the time to give each one of them a little bit of a character moment, and after that, you understood how they interacted with the rest of the team. You mentioned before we started, we were talking about favorite scenes from the originals. The scene with Kenny Wu in the second one.
Yeah, where he gets into a fight. Yeah, where the street kids
leader.
teach him how to get into a fight, and then he ends up getting into a fight against, was it like Iceland or somebody?
Yeah, I think it was in the final.
And then he ends up in the penalty box with Fulton Reed and Dean Porter, and now there's 3 Bash brothers. Yeah, it was hilarious.
Yeah, that was so funny.
But I don't want to see is the really goofy shit like Dwayne the Cowboy jumping on the ice and roping somebody.
Yeah.
That was a little too far, even for my taste as like a 12-year-old kid watching that movie when it came out. So
and that's the campiness that I was talking about.
It's almost cartooniness at that point. Mm-hmm. Yeah, campiness is good. Cartooniness is not
good.
Yeah. So Disney and ABC, if you're watching this and you steal our ideas, we will come after you.
We have proof now.
But if you want to hire us, we've got this whole thing, I think, pretty well damn figured out.
Yeah, I think we could write the treatment right now, and then probably episode 1 and 2 pretty quickly.
Yeah, so if you're watching this Disney, just leave a comment down below, and we'll let you know how to contact us. Otherwise, just do it right. Just don't make it dumb. Make it a good series. Do right by my childhood, please.
Yeah, make it about the characters and make it fun.
Yeah.
That's all I have to ask.
That's it, yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Well, join us next time as we break down another potential TV show that might not even get made. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, bye. So there's Charlie Conway, Ben Averman,
Guy
Goldberg, Guy Germain, Connie Moreau,
Dean Portman,
and then there was Kenny Wu,
Fulton Reed,
Julie Cat Gaffney,
Dwayne Robertson,
Jesse Hall, and then he had a younger brother who was just disappeared.
Russell Tyler.
Yeah, who had the knuckle puck.
Adam Banks.
Yep, Banksy is important. Yeah. Oh, there was a kid from Pete and Pete. He didn't make it past the first movie. Yeah.
Do you know what sarcasm is? No. Yeah. What does he say? Like, I will not quack at the teacher.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, that's like 15 ducks we just named off at the top of our heads.
Just rattle them off.
Having watched those movies as kids. Yeah. So, yeah.
It's easy. It's easy to pick them out.
Yeah.
I don't think we missed any like major ones.
I can't think of any we missed. Yeah.
Cool.